What's going on, guys? My name is Triforce Addiction. Welcome back to another COD Mobile video. So today I want to cover a buff that I think like a lot of people are not really discussing, and that of course is the Lag 53. I've been seeing a lot of YouTubers talk about various changes. The one I've seen the most is definitely either the QXR or the USS 9 2.0, aka the Striker 45. But I haven't really seen a lot of people cover the Vargo changes or even the Lag 53, because I think the Lag 53 is a pretty decent change once you actually start using it, because it's very similar to the Odin. If anything, we could unanimously agree that the Odin is kind of like the direct rival of the Lag 53. Of course, the Lag 53, in everyone's opinion, is usually the weaker weapon. Reason being is because it's a little bit slower than what the Odin is. I didn't think so at first, only because look, I'm not really much of an Odin user. I don't use it that often. You know, there'll be days where I'll use a random weapon and that random weapon will typically be the Odin sometimes, but for the most part, when it comes to a slow firing weapon that could two tap, I usually go for the Lag 53 for just one specific reason. And that one specific reason is just the fact that I feel like it's a much more stable variation of the Odin. It may not be very consistent, but if you're trying to kill a target from a long distance, you're not really going to have that much trouble because there's hardly any recoil to control. You're never going to have to, I mean, if you're on controller, you're never going to have to pull the right control stick down to control the recoil because it's already stable as it is. You could have full ADS builds on this thing and it still won't move an inch. Whereas if you're using the Odin and you're trying to kill a target from a long distance, it's going to be a little bit harder. And I think that's what makes these two weapons unique and how they stand out, because the Lag 53, while it's very controllable, has a little bit less consistency than the Odin, where you could two-shot almost anywhere, or at least that's what it feels like. But at the same time, it's not as stable. You could have a tiny bit more strafing speed with the Odin, but it's not too much of a difference to the point where you'll feel it. I think the only downside of mobility with the Lag 53 is just mainly the strafing speed. The strafing speed is another huge part that the Lag 53 is kind of criticized for, because the strafing speed is so slow that even if you have full mobility builds and Skulker at the same time, it's still pretty damn slow. It's a lot like the MK2. I mean, if you guys use that marksman rifle, the strafing speed is atrocious. It's the same story here, but the ADS speed is kind of what makes up for it, I would say. I mean, it kind of feels just as fast as the Odin. And it also depends on how you build it out as well. I mean, with the Lag 53, at least when it first came out, you know, there was a barrel, the para barrel, I think, the one that lets you like turn it to semi-auto, but you know, it gives you like headshot damage. You know, there's a little bit more opportunities with this one. The Odin is not exactly the same. I mean, it does have different types of mag attachments, but they're not really ever worth using. You know, they have that one attachment that basically turns your, you know, your Odin into kind of like a short range silencer type of thing. But of course, you lose a lot of bullet speed. And yeah, it's just not a good time for anyone. At least as far as if you're like using that type of magazine. But I think with the Lag 53, you know, there's a little bit more variety on how you could actually build it. And that's why I've actually considered the Lag 53 to be the better option, at least for me. So the changes are as follows. So the ADS bullet spread got slightly improved, nothing too major, but the lower arm multiplier did increase from 1 times to 1.05 times. And the max bullet impact increased from 14 to 1. Sorry, not 14, 1.4 to 16. So by far the most important change is the lower arm multiplier, at least when it comes to that second range, because the second range I think extends up to like 30 meters, but of course it could be slightly expanded upon depending on what you build. But yes, the Lag 53's lower arm multiplier is definitely beneficial when it comes to the second range, because before, once you got to that second range, the only time you were able to really two tap was if you landed 2 chest shots, or if you landed like one headshot and 1 chest shot, or yeah, I guess 1 headshot and 1 arm shot. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that the consistency for the second range is a lot better now. So it's just as consistent as it would be if you were in the first range, which is actually pretty incredible. I still don't think it would be as good as the Odin, or maybe it's just around the same. At least from my experience using it within this update, it does feel a lot more consistent than before. So in some ways, the consistency between the Lag 53 and the Odin are basically similar. They're almost 1-to-1. But I think a lot of people are still gonna choose the Odin over the Lag 53 mainly because it has a lot more mobility, albeit less recoil control. But, if you're a person that doesn't really care too much about movement, I would actually recommend picking the Lag 53 if you just wanna control recoil. I think the change that we have here is honestly for the best. I'm actually kind of hoping that they don't change it again to make it faster or something, because then that's gonna basically render the Odin to be a little more useless, or like they're gonna make the weapons a little bit too similar. But again, I don't know if this is a controversial take, but I think the Lag 53 and the Odin, at least when it comes to their potency and how well they could two tap, they're more or less the same. It could really go either way depending on what you choose. It's not really gonna matter. They're both just as potent as the other, but just with different types. But the weapons work in a different type of way. But yeah, that's the Live 53 update that we got for this season. I actually like it a lot more. And obviously, this happened mainly because I think the new mythic character that's coming out is actually going to have a legendary Lag 53. From what I heard, I don't know if this is true, but I think it's supposed to have like a digital iron sight, even though it's a legendary. But I can't really be too sure on that unless I see it. Also, I'm not really too certain whether or not the mythic character is going to come out this season. I'm kind of betting that's going to come out the season after, during season 1 of 2026. And that's mainly because we already have, the Street Fighter collaboration. We already have the SO14 mythic skin, as well as like, the 50% off Vargo S. Like there's a lot of stuff that they're going to be selling this season. But I don't expect them to make a further change to the weapon itself whenever we do get the season 1 patch notes. But that's going to be like over a month from now. And by that point, I'm probably already going to be gone for deployment. I'm just simply trying to cover what I can before I go. I'm trying to reach, as many subscribers as I can before like I have to call it quits for a year. Then once I come back, I'll be back in business as per usual. But yeah, anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe for some more COD Mobile content. I'll see you guys next time.